everyone. Glad you can make it to this YouTube video. Today I'm actually going to be talking about three different things. Number one is institutional practices. Number two is being pinned to the past, and also the idea of 28 days. So my name is Manuel Zavaios. This is my second episode for the My Emotion Code journey. So I'm glad you guys can share this journey with me. I have a previous video that I just made to why I'm doing this, and this is actually for two types of people. Someone who's really into energy medicine, someone who's researching that and maybe fell upon the emotion code. And then there's those of you who are actually on the path to getting certified, and then I'm taking a spin on what I'm learning, and I'm doing a daily journal of things that I'm learning, and what that has to do with my marketing past, and also maybe something to do with my parents who were both oncologists. I'm going to try to combine my past and then basically receive information and see if I can add value to you guys. So we're going to start off with this. Number one is institutional practices. So what I've decided to do, first of all, is to start reading the book, The Emotion Code. Again, if you haven't read this book yet, it's something I highly recommend, because then it'll actually clarify some of the things I'm talking about, especially if you're looking into practicing it. I highly recommend to read the book first. Now, my thing is, if time stops and you're really excited about it and you feel like you could read forever, then that's a very good sign that perhaps there's a healing element inside of you that you haven't really reached yet, you haven't really tapped into yet. And I wouldn't ignore that. I would actually run with that. So here's the first thing is, on page 14, actually when I started reading this again, I'm just going to tell you guys my thoughts. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to be very raw and very just honest with you guys. Is something that I noticed that Dr. Bradley Nelson does is he's actually very, very good at sharing stories. So whether you're in practice for yourself, whether you do other types of healing, I think one of the main things to know is that, you know, we didn't tell our children bedtime facts. We told children bedtime stories. And we still haven't changed in many ways. You know, even though we're adults, we still appreciate stories, and they do sell. They actually, because I think I'm on page 14, I'm reading the book all over again, and I think I've already seen about 5 or 6 testimonials, and I'm still learning about just the concept of emotion code. So just something to kind of think about is that when you're going out there, either looking for a practitioner or you're a practitioner yourself, is that as much as we know all the facts and all the interesting data that you can learn from your subconscious brain, in the end, people are tuning into what they call WIIFM, which stands for what's in it for me. And the way that you can tune into that is by sharing other people's stories that are very similar to what they're going through, so that they can see themselves being healed by your practice. So again, I think a lot of us, we kind of shoot ourselves in the foot by, we receive so much knowledge that we really think they care about all these different words that they don't understand. But in the end, all they care about is what's in it for me. And if you have a story that they can link to and that can actually invoke emotion to them, I think that is what's really going to help people out. And these aren't made up stories. Obviously, keep your integrity, find real stories. And the way you find real stories is practice more. And that's what I'm going to do. And so number one is this. So there was this lady named Debbie. She had a broken heart, you know, and she was treated by Dr. Bradley Nelson. And what's really interesting, it says that she had a heartache. She started having like some serious emergency issues. Dr. Bradley talks about how it's not very typical to have such a harsh reaction. Usually it's very small ailments at first that may incur a disease. But now this lady, like, literally started, you know, just 3 years later was having some horrible, horrible pains in her body. And he basically asked, you know, and the pains were probably an 8 or a 9 out of a 10 Richter 10 scale. And so he asked, he said, hey, he's like, is this a trapped emotion? And then she answered strongly, yes, through muscle testing. And that's how the emotion code is first found, is if there's a trapped emotion, is they use muscle testing. And so what's interesting here, what she said, is that she replied through, her husband had an affair. So I'm going to just read you this little part real quick. The news was devastating to her. It destroyed her marriage, wrecked her life for a while, but she gradually came to terms with it. She cried a lot of tears, spent a year in therapy. got remarried, and moved on, or so she thought. So don't we have friends of ours that also they go to therapy, they go to treatments, they maybe even take medicine and you know, find counseling and things like that. They have a good heart to find help to heal their heart, but in the end, the trapped emotion, there it is. And so it's almost like, I was talking to this other doctor the other day, it's like a Band-Aid. You know, it only goes so far, but it doesn't maybe solve the root problem. And so the emotion code is the root problem fixer. And so here it says here, she had done all the things we were told to do. She cried, expressed her feelings, sought the comfort of friends and the advice of therapists, opened up a dialogue with her husband, reconciled her divorce. I mean, she took these steps. These are honest, virtuous steps to rid herself of the pain that she received during this divorce where the husband had an affair. But the one thing is that she still had a traumatic experience that stayed with her, and then now it was showing up as issues with her body and pain. And but what's really interesting is that she spent a year in therapy. So here's the thing. Is the therapist a criminal for taking her in knowing that she's just putting a Band-Aid on her? My answer to that is no and yes. And the reason why is because we know here, when you start learning the emotion code, is that it is really the ideal solution for someone. The thing is, the therapist only knows what they know. And so that's why I can never shun them, because they were trying to help. I don't know their intentions. I don't know what that therapist thought about. But I want to talk to you about institutional greed. So here's the thing. My mother, I just saw an article recently where it was talking about how immunotherapy is the cure for cancer, like a new cure, right? And my mother was talking about that back in 2009. She retired from Kaiser in 2000, but in 2009 she was talking about this idea of immunotherapy, which is using lasers and like a seashell formula called Insavax, and how it was you know, a 2-month process to treat, and there's, you know, they take a treatment of, you know, 2 hours in a day, once a week. I mean, it was very simple, and it used very little chemotherapy, and it was a natural way to assist people with stage 3 breast cancer. Now you're probably wondering, Emmanuel, why did you say stage 3? Why not stage 2, stage 1? Because institutional greed didn't allow her to perform this beautiful act of using immunotherapy. I'll kind of restructure what I'm trying to say here. My mother was going to Peru to be able to assist people with clinical trials of people that were poor, not because they were poor in their life, but because the hospitals made them poor. And they basically said, hey, look, you know, you can't be practiced on by law until you're stage 3. And so what do? They go to the hospital and spend money, chemo. Then they're withered down, they're completely down and out, and then that's when my mother would pick them up. Now, I find that wrong. So here's the thing. Institutions, and there's certain orthodox ways of doing medicine, they will take your money. And it is a money game. You don't think I'm right about that? Okay, well, my mother went down to Peru, and as soon as she was doing this type of treatment, all her old colleagues were shunning her, saying, well, Maria, you know, there's a place for chemotherapy and da-da-da-da. And she was having a high percentage of people getting cured and healed. You know, oh, I said cured. Oh, I'm sorry. But 60% were actually recovering. And the other percent that didn't recover is because they were already stage 3 and the cancer transferred to somewhere else. I find that really amazing. And so, but her friends were not supportive of her because they said, you are messing with our lifestyle. So that's the type of, just letting you know, if some of your medical friends or some of your people that you used to know that you would confide in as far as in the medical world, they start shunning you because you're using energy medicine, just prepare for it. It's going to happen. The reason why is because they feel like you're putting them out of the job. So I just want to give you guys a heads up. That's my #1 tip today, is that there is institutional greed. There are people that came in the medical field for money, only for money, and not for the care to help people out. And I say, shame on them. They shouldn't be in the practice in the first place. And my mother received horrible ridicule from them. And I just want to let you know ahead of time, if you're becoming a practitioner, prepare for it. Or if you're looking for healing, prepare yourself that institutions will take your money, whether they heal you or not, whether they have bad intentions or not. So that's number one. That's my number one tip, is institutional greed. Be careful of it. It's out there, and you just have to, the reason why I love the Emotion Code is because we provide a free consultation first, so you can see the love that we have for you to help you out. So number two, pin to the past. So there's a really great story about a child who had later on issues with her body, and later on she found out that it happened between 1 to 5 years old, which is basically the mother, through muscle testing, found out that it was between 1 to 5 years old. She also had a lot of pain in her body, or she actually admitted that she didn't have pain. She was like, oh, I'm okay. But the mother was like, no, she has actually some serious pain. But it came from her accidentally pinning a pin on her diaper. So it went to her skin and kept it there until she changed the next diaper. And the child does not remember it. So here's the second tip, is you don't know what you don't know. So you have to, as either a practitioner or either as a patient, you have to be willing to go to places where you don't know you don't know. Well, I do know my name is Emmanuel Zavaios. I know my social security number. I know my date of birth. There's things that I know I don't know, maybe like calculus, right? But then I once heard in a class called Landmark Forum where they say 80% is what you don't know you don't know. And once you jump into that, that's when you start completing your life. So if you haven't really been happy with where your life has been going, you need to jump into the 80% of what you don't know you don't know. And so that's my second tip, is whether you're a practitioner or you're looking into things, energy medicine or different types of healing, you have to kind of jump in and really research. I'm not saying pay a bunch of people. I'm saying do your diligent research and be willing to go into the unknown. That's my second recommendation. And number three is I always talk about I'm on a self-development journey too, right? So yesterday there was just a recent sales meeting at where I work at, and I was just talking to them, and I said, I emailed them and I said, hey guys, we're reading a book called How to Win Friends, Influence People. 288 pages in the book. 28 days, all we have to do is read 10 pages a day. And you have a full book about how to win friends and influence people. The class we didn't make in high school, the class we didn't make in college, how to make friends, right? We learned how to memorize. We didn't learn how to make friends. We didn't learn how to say sorry and mean it. So here's the thing, is I committed myself to becoming a Emotion Code practitioner, but I also committed to my own personal growth. So I recommend whatever you're doing, if you're going into the medical field, or or maybe you're just looking for healing, just know that it just takes 10 pages a day. It's not a huge, crazy thing. It's just 10 pages consistently over time, and in 1 month, you can finish a book on how to win friends and influence people. How much further in life would you get if you knew how to influence friends and make friends with people and know how to communicate? So, those are the three tips I want to share you. So number one is be careful with institutional greed. Number two, you need to jump into what you don't know, whether you're a practitioner or whether you're someone who is looking into being healed. And number three is it only takes a little bit for self-growth. As soon as I wrote that email, I was thinking of you guys, and I was saying, does everyone know how simple it is to be just a little bit better than the masses of the world? It only takes 10 pages a day. That's it. It doesn't take 30, doesn't take 50. It takes 10 pages a day. You read 12 books in a year, and I'm telling you, your life is completely different. So with that, hopefully you guys gain value from my video. This is my second episode, and I'll be posting it on YouTube very soon. If you want to follow me, you can go on facebook.com/Emmanuel F. Zavaios, or you can subscribe. That way you actually get these Monday through Friday. And I always end with this. The world has a false notion where I'll take care of you if you take care of me. But we all know, and in this journey that we're taking together, that if we take care of ourselves, we can authentically take care of others. And as we take care of ourselves, we can change our home, we can change our city, we can change the country, and we can change the world. So with that, this is Emmanuel Zavaios. Reach out to me if I'm on Facebook. If you gained any value from this, or even if you have any questions, or if there's anything that I can do to add to our journey together of growth, I want to let you know that I am fully committed to being certified as an Emotion Code practitioner, and I'm taking you guys with me and my self-development growth journey. So we're going to make this a really great year. So with that, I wish you guys the best. Take care.